roam and operate so freely. So I'm really not buying what the federal government is saying at this time, not because they haven't budgeted funds to the military or the security architecture, but I haven't seen them take a what I call it, a concrete step. And one of the biggest areas in this area has to do with surveillance. We're not, security is not all about having something ready just in case something happens. Security is all about understanding.
That takes us to the Punch newspaper as we go over to Lakunde Yusuf. Let's get an understanding of the impact of this particular infrastructure. The headline reads, Sanwo-Olu opens Red Line rail flyover projects 500,000 passengers daily. Speak to this and in terms of reduction of traffic.
Okay, so quickly on this. In the last 24 years or thereabouts, if we take all the states in Nigeria and put them side by side in terms of infrastructure development, Lagos State will probably stand out, despite the challenges the state has is that in terms of land mass, the daily influx of other Nigerians and other nationalities into Lagos every day. In 1999, we were a little above 13 million in Lagos. As of today, the number has been flat out there is about 22 million. I'm not sure there's any state in Nigeria that has recorded that percentage of inward movement. Add to that the 2.5 million people that are coming to Lagos daily and go out daily. So you look at that, Lagos is under pressure to accommodate all these challenges. Now, the train system that was launched a few months ago, yes, we would say train, is it train? But for us in Nigeria, it's a big deal that we now for once have an interstate or intra-city transport system that can move people en masse. So on that premise, we have one that runs from Marina to what does it stop now? That's the blue line.
National Theatre.
To National Theatre and to mile 2 or so, I
Yes.
think. Now we have this one that's going to run from Yaba, I think, to through the Ikeja corridor, which is one that was launched yesterday. It's expected to move about.
It's the flyover.
No, is it only the flyover?
It's
okay,
the flyover.
so the flyover that's running across that will allow people to go, that will not obstruct traffic. We expect that red line to go. I saw a few days ago the carriages, they said we are refitting it, so that means it's almost ready for use. It's also been said that some of these things will run on electricity, right? So we can say that despite these challenges that we have, Lagos State government is trying to put things in place that will move us to the next level. It is baby steps, yes, but it's better than not trying. To this extent, I'll say congratulations to Lagos State government for having said they would do this and they have done it. The other part of it then would then be how transparent were they in terms of the cost of this project, because I know that that's where some people are going to hang the argument of the criticisms. But you see, the thing at the end of the day is that would we have it? Yes, we'd have it. Will we be able to maintain them? That's another question we need to ask. Will people use them reasonably and with care and use it like it is their own? That is what we'll plead with people to do. And we hope that there's supposed to be 7 of those lines, the blue, the red, the brown, the orange. We hope that the next governor, I'm sure that this current governor of government will not do all the 7. We hope that the next government that comes to Lagos will not abandon this thing and continue where it stops, so that by the time we're done, many of us will have a little or no reason to drive every day. Like I just came in here and I spent like 1.5 hours to get here on a journey that ordinarily would have taken me 25 minutes.
Before we let the story go to bed, let's look at the impact, the safety impact of having what you call the overpass that takes a vehicle away from going across the rail track. Remember, there have been incidences in the past in some parts. There was one in Kano that occurred, and then there was also we had. So let's speak on the impact in terms of safety.
So this is where we now begin to appeal to our people. It is not going to be, it's not my portion in Jesus' name. It won't be me. That's always our attitude to a lot of things. But guess what? These things don't recognize. Yes, it's good to pray. I believe in prayers as well. But the Holy Books tells us, tie your horse, then trust in God. So we'll then say that it is very important that these things are done primarily for transportation, and then with your safety in mind. Please use the overpasses if you're driving. Use the pedestrian bridges in these places. If there is none, if you have to take a bus to the next pedestrian bridge, please do. This thing is going to be electrified. It's the volume of the voltages in that thing can incinerate a person beyond recognition. I think that and this is part also where the government needs to play a role, a leading role. I know that, for example, there's a place in Lagos where some barricades were put along the road near pedestrian bridges. Nigerians went there to destroy this barricades because they want to run across the express. We need to let government know, enforce these laws. Let's punish people who do these things, destruction of public property. Let's inform people. Let's advocate. Public advocacy would help, and then we should also be ready to punish people who violate these simple rules.
All right, thank you, Lakunle, for that. We're going on to Vanguard. The headline says Nigeria loses 7 billion annually to poor management of ports. This is according to two members of the House of Representatives, Honorable Julius Ihombare and Ibrahim Ishiaka.
Well, still speaking on the state of the economy, the two members of the House of Representatives, who were also members of the House Committee on Ports and National Planning and Blue Economy, they were speaking of the fact that Nigeria loses about $7 billion annually to inefficiencies and poor management at the port. $7 billion is literally at 7 trillion naira. That's our budget right there. Now, some statistics that they quoted was that Nigerian seaports, and that is actually an unfair statement because we literally have only one functional, even though like 3 or 5 exist. Whilst on a strictly for oil and gas, the Calabar port is moribund, the Port Harcourt port is moribund, the Warri port is moribund. What you actually only have in function is the Lagos seaports. Now, Nigerian seaports receive barely 10% of West African imports, out of 60% destined for Nigeria, while the rest goes to neighboring countries. Now, what that means is, even though the large cargoes are headed for Nigeria, only 10% of that comes directly to Nigeria. The rest go through other ports. Most shipping lines prefer to use other countries, like e.g. Our small brother. I think we're big enough to call them small brother, Benin Republic.
Our 37th state.
Yes, you see. Now, whilst I am calling Benin Republic Cotonou our small brother, I am literally pointing 4 fingers at Nigeria, because I've been there. Another small brother of ours, Tema Port in Ghana. You need to go to these places, because sometimes we make these things look like rocket science. You need to see how well articulated, well planned. You see this nonsense that we have going on at our ports, with both with trucking and ships, everything just complete quagmire. You need to visit Cotonou, Benin Republic, and see how sweet, that's the word, and see how calculated in terms of how you see the port processes, the ease. You can literally have a vacation inside their ports because it's well organized. Same thing with Tema Port. And I still remember my last experience in Tema, where
our car driver left the windows open. I was so scared, and the first question that they mentioned was,
Devo, as you've raised it, would it have been patriotic for you to have gone? What took you to Tema Port and left the ports in Lagos then?
When
You were importing from there.
what I'll
Since you
say,
raised it now.
what I'll say is this: yes, we were importing, but my question is this: until you have, and I'm saying this because it's not so much to hack down on the Ministry of the Blue Economy or the Ports Authority or all the agencies that work to ensure that our ports work. Even the politics, the diabolical politics, why the other three ports are not working. It's historical, right? Why the whole load should be on Lagos instead of spreading the weight across our coastal regions. Literally, I mean, this is where you hit black people. You have a coastal country called Nigeria. You have the advantage, the blessing of opportunities to spread transportation, importation, exports around the country, and you force everything into one. Who is thinking right there? You don't need to go too far. You don't need anybody to go to school to understand that we are actually the cause of why this 7 billion naira is lost on an annual basis. And my point is this: you see, these are the real issues that affect us as Nigerians. 7 billion, 7 trillion is jobs, 7 trillion is infrastructural funds, 7 trillion is opportunity to address all the issues in this country that we lose all the time. So, who at the end of the day are we going to blame? I think us Nigerians need to take this blame for the kind of governments we vote into power. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about the current administration. There is a historical line of us keeping our eyes blind to the matters that affect our direct lives and then chasing sentiments of religion and ethnicity that does not shift, that does not add one kobo back or $1 back to this 7 billion loss on an annual basis.
All right, let us know what your thoughts are. WhatsApp number is 0809 440 981. We'll take more of your messages. And of course, Freshly Blessed will continue shortly. Stay with us.
Well,
Devo, how much is chicken in your area? You are sounding like a man who's got chicken for
Chicken is-
40,000 naira in your
chicken is
area.
12,000. I can
Is
sell
it
to you
12?
10,000.
Wait, is it 12,000? Because
Yeah.
someone said it was 28,000 this
No,
morning.
Kilo day.
Kilo day.
I'm not, see, I told
That's
you what it was.
Turkey.
You are you
Chicken.
buying
Okay,
turkey?
28,000, that's cheap though.
You can't get
Excuse me.
turkey for 20,000.
Yeah.
You can't get turkey for
A
20,000.
full turkey.
Yeah, half turkey.
How much is turkey?
Hold your 50K, you. Make I don't lie.
Okay,
you.
but let's go.
I disagree with
That's
this
why I
one.
actually like-
Hey, I hope that's not
Yeah.
traumatized turkey you chicken you want to sell. Those
Genetically modified.
Those kind of yeah, chicken you want to sell.
Those ones are the feathers are sticking.
Not those ones that their feathers are they are already dropped off.
Oh
Those ones
my
are real.
goodness.
I disagree with one of that.
On which area?
But I know people
You
who
don't
say
see that
that
Ali's
in Port
message.
Harcourt,
Date
who say
and
that
time.
it's cheaper to for
Okay,
your goods to
26
come
and
to
7
Lagos
PM,
and
okay.
then drive it to Aba than for it to drop in Port Harcourt and drive it to Aba. The number of things that you cross between Port Harcourt and Aba for your hand container.
That's
So
human
it's
element.
so it's much more that reason. Everybody ask them.
They've had to.
Let's go to
adjust.
let's go
They've
to
had to
Aba.
adjust.
Let's go to Aba or what's the other place and ask those traders there why they fail to land their things in Lagos.
No, it's okay. When
See,
we
the
have-
politics of Lagos
I'll-
is different.
I'll explain
The
that
politics
whole
of Lagos.
All right, we're going back on.
This my mic is low.
Is there?
Freshly pressed on Smooth 98.1 FM. It's time for us to get in the more papers as we move on to reach out to the Punch newspaper, where this one is going specifically to Lakunle. And here it screams anti-corruption fight battle for Nigeria's soul. It says the EFCC chair, that's talking about Ola Olukoyede, speaking on this one.
So the chairman of EFCC, Mr. Ola Olukoyede, was appointed to office, I think, September or August this year, and he said a lot of controversial things, including saying that 70% of Nigerian youths are fraudsters and all that. Well, the numbers may be wrong. Here again, he said a few things here, including that we're fighting for the soul of Nigeria. It's not about religion and tribe. That all the people who steal, who misappropriate, who misapply, who snakes swallow the monies and all that are either Muslim or Christians. We left out the traditionalists in this one. That's a joke, actually. But the point he's making
Laugh
is
at the joke.
the point he's making is that it is human beings, us Nigerians, we know them, who do all these things that we all complain about. But then the self-inflection, the lesson I'm trying to bring out of this is that the self-inflection for all of us is, if I am the person in the position that I complain about, would I do better than the person I'm complaining about there? That's the first thing I want us to look at. However, now back to the story itself. I think that the position of the EFCC chairman and the EFCC itself is better seen through their work, not through statements like this. We know, we talk about all these things. Corruption in Nigeria is huge. We just talked about corruption in the port system where we're losing money. Every day we talk about the customs one. Every day we talk about the police. Every day we talk about everywhere. We talk about governors, we talk about senators and all that. So it is because it is visible. That's why we can talk about them almost in authoritative manners all over the place. So how many of these things are we investigating? What is the result of this investigation? How many are we taking to court? How many are we prosecuting? How many are they being convicted? And so on and so forth. I think that we'll be glad to hear from the chairman when he's telling us statistics of such things, rather than describing the problem for us. We all know what the problem is. We can spend the whole day at this table describing the problem of Nigeria. But EFCC is supposed to be part of the solution to that problem. So we would expect that the chairman of the EFCC and his men and women should help us by providing solutions at this kind of fora. Would have been nice if he said, since August when I resumed, we have investigated 20 cases, we have taken 10 to court, 4 have been convicted, so amount of monies have been recovered. That sends the right message to people who are involved to say, they are catching us, I better stop. They are catching me, I better stop. And so on and so forth. When you come back and keep saying this, it's just like you're just describing the problem. I think we should stop describing the problem.
All right, let's go on to some of the messages that we have coming through. This one is from Idima Puza, and he says, the type of democracy we're running in Nigeria is government of the politicians, by the politicians, for the politicians, and the citizens keep allowing it to happen. eBay from Uyo says, I believe the phrase from the Holy Bible is watch and pray. I totally agree. Nigerians need to be more proactive as to safety and well-being. Ize, he says, Republic of Benin is not our 37th state. Abuja is, according to the Supreme Court. Yinka says, luckily there are 3 types of people in the world today. We have the whites, the blacks, and the Nigerians. You see that electrified rail line, all the government needs to do is ensure that there are clear signs that it's a danger zone. Let's now hope someone gets redecorated by that line. No, we're not hoping for that.
We're not hoping for that.
Trust me, it will be the best deterrent for everyone. The same people who sell their wares close to the rail line, why? It baffles me. Or folks stealing rail tracks. So yes, someone needs to be made a scapegoat. Let's go on to Premium Times. Nigerian doctors seek legislation to address organ trafficking.
Yes, the Nigerian Medical Association was speaking in a charge at a forum, calling on the National Assembly to tighten the legislation surrounding organ trafficking. Now, some call it organ trafficking, some call it organ harvesting. The chairman was saying that currently the laws are weak and a bit porous, and that ideally you should have a scenario whereby a donor, first of all, must be above 18 years of age, one, and then secondly, there will be no financial inducement for the donation as it is in international climes. Now, for those who don't understand what organ harvesting is, just basically sometimes medically one of your organs, your kidney, your liver, even your heart may fail, and what the medical doctors do is look for a compliant organ with someone else. It could be either a family member or someone who genetically there is a balance, and they exchange for you. or they transplant for you, right? Now, the problem here is that because of the weak laws, there has been a hike in the illegal trading of organs, which is a serious crime abroad. Now, what has happened is, like the NMA chair said in Abuja, that many people many traffickers have taken advantage of, especially the poverty situation in this country, and have been trafficking organs or exchanging organs for inducements, financial inducing poor people. And that's one of the biggest tragedies of poverty, that you find yourself taking decisions that are inhumane simply because you want to survive. So you see a lot of people below 18 for a morsel of an amount of maybe 10,000 naira, 50,000 naira, either donating their livers, one of their livers, or one of their kidneys, or their liver, or one other part of them. Now, now in other street languages, this organ harvesting is actually what we refer to as Yahoo Plus. So don't be fooled by someone just waking up and saying that he did one or two things as a sharp guy, and now he's driving a BMW and a Mercedes Benz, and he's living in a high profile zone. A lot of them have been operating as organ harvesters, organ traffickers. There are even markets here in Lagos that sell different body parts. You've even had places in schools or universities, and even secondary schools, if I remember last time in Ogun State, where a boyfriend butchered his girlfriend in the name of organ harvesting. This has gotten to a treacherous point, and the laws must be legislated to address this, so that you can't escape under a gap within the law. I mean, no memories lost on the infamous Aquarimadu case, where you could see they were apprehended in the UK, and you could see how far they took that matter despite his diplomatic status. And I think these laws need to be moved quickly, because we must protect our population, even though the larger part of our population is low income, but we still must protect them so they don't find themselves being susceptible to all these loopholes in the market regarding organ harvesting. What is allowed is that if you do need it from a medical point of view, then first of all, the donor must be above 18. Secondly, it's not supposed to come with the financial inducement. It's going to be a tall order. You know how it is in this country. Like we said, Turkey is 50,000, right? So
Like a lady
I
supplier.
don't know. I've not done one before.
so you see, a lot of people will be tempted to give up one aspect, especially young people who don't know how well these organs function for them later in life.
Quickly, and you know the funny thing about some of these things is that, so you hear some of the things that have been said about some of these organs. So you hear things like your body needs only just about a quarter of the whole size of your liver to function to survive, and then people are thinking, say, if I give a quarter of my own. A lot of us don't really understand the full implication of donation, the effect on you, the person, the effect on the person you are giving, the lifestyle changes you have to undergo after you have donated, and so on and so forth. Everybody's just thinking in terms of the money. That's why the focus is always on, you must understand what you want to do first. Then you'll be counseled before, you'll be counseled after. Your lifestyle changes that you must have to go through will be taught to you. You make sure you understand it. If you have to take some drugs going forward, all of these things. But people just are focused on the money, and that's what we're saying here, that it's not just about the money. We need the laws to be strong to dissuade people. We need the laws, we need our medical facilities, our medical personnel, to ensure that when this is done, and this is where professional organizations are not just in the interest of members, their interest of the public as well. They should form lobby groups, lobby the National Assembly to get this law strengthened, so that as much as possible we can reduce this trafficking, and we can as much as possible try to make any form of organ donation legal.
All right, let's go on to the messages that we have coming through. This one is from Daniel, and Daniel says, the issue with the port story is classic Nigerian governance style. part mediocrity partnered with corruption and rent seeking covered by sentiments. A simple matter of government opening up the ports is impossible. Outside Lagos is impossible. We've chosen the worst among us to lead us. And this one is from, okay, the nameless one. He says, why should we wait till next year before we can sleep with our two eyes? My niece was kidnapped in Abuja this month. We're asked to pay 50 million naira by the criminals involved, now reduced to 15 million naira. If federal government relatives, I believe that's what you were trying to say, were involved, will they wait till 2024? Some ministers are not proactive. Well, that is it for Freshly Pressed this morning. Thank you for listening. Thanks for sending your messages through. And of course, special thanks to our analysts, Lakunle and Devo, for joining us this morning. Do stay with us. There's a lot more to come on the Smooth Breakfast. And your tomorrow. The headlines.
That your liver needs
Oh, man.
what's that to function was what they sold to one of my guys. Yeah, one of
Don't tell me he donated call his liver.
No, he didn't.
Oh.
You know,
That money,
you know, they just tell you.
I didn't want to say
They
it
just
on
tell you
air.
all these silly things.